Welcome to Videocraft's live stream of our new Sony PXW-FX9. Today we're going through a bit of a Q&A session, if you like, and today we have Anthony Cable from Sony, who's come along to go and have a bit of a chat about the camera. Not so much talking about all the specs and things like that, more along the lines of all of the new things that are coming along and just some various questions. So without any further ado, let's go and get into it. First question, we've got a range of questions that have come through so far, so if we can just start bringing up the first questions now, that would be great. The first one, new Sony high capacity batteries.
Sure, okay, so the camera works with the previous Sony BPU series batteries, but yeah, there is a new series of batteries. The camera itself does draw more power than FX7, so with the FX9 there's a whole new range of batteries, similar sorts of styles as the previous ones, just a bit bigger. So the 30 is replaced with a 35, the 60 with a 70, and the 90 with a 100. The 35 and the 70 will be shipping around the same time as the camera. There is a bit of a delay on the 100. That'll be out early next year. But yeah, at the moment, they're the ones that are shipping. They're coming out. The camera itself ships with the 35.
All right. Yep. So one thing we can have a look at here with the FX9, if we go in a little bit closer at the back, you'll see currently we have a BPU 60 battery on the back of the camera. And one thing you can see there, that the way the battery mount has been designed, you can see the BPU 60 actually fits in quite snugly. The BPU 70 is dimensionally similar to the 60. Yep. So even when we go and add the new BPU 100 battery, it'll still fit quite comfortably on the camera and maintain balance and also keep the weight quite low. So I think the BPU 100 will probably be the most popular one. Probably,
yeah. The 70, I think, for average users, for doing normal sort of short interviews and things, is going to be fine. The 100, yeah, if you are looking for those longer event type things, then makes some more logical sense for that. Yep. Just the same as the 60 and the 90 used to be.
Okay, great. Okay, more questions. So from Anthony Connors, and we talk about will centre crop for the camera, so like what we have with FS7.
Sure, okay, so I'm assuming you mean centre crop on the Super 35, taking it all the way down to 16mm?
So you could put say a B4 mount lens on the
Right, okay, so at the moment that's not in the current roadmap. That being said, we have had quite a bit of feedback of people wanting this feature. Yeah, obviously when you do that, it's going to come down to an HD resolution, the same as what you get on an FS7. At this point in time, as I said, it's not on the roadmap, but we've definitely heard some feedback. We're collecting feedback from everyone in relation to what new features they're looking for. So that's on the list, but yeah, I don't have a schedule or confirmation on that at this point.
Yeah. Certainly with the Sony FS7, there was a B4 mount adapter and an ENG kit that was made. Mm-hmm. So it would be interesting if that adapter was able to go onto the FX9 in the future.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can use those adapters and then crop it in post, of course, but yeah, straight out of the camera, at this point, it's not available.
Okay. Let's have a look at our next question. Will the Fujinon XK Cabrio work with the FX9 shooting in Super 35?
Okay, so XK is a
PL
Cabrio, right?
So PL Cabrio.
PL, okay.
Yes.
Right, so you would require a PL adapter with that.
So okay. Looking through here, here's an existing PL mount adapter from the FS7. This is just a mechanical adapter. There's no electronics in it. Right. And one of the things to be aware of here is that the FX9 doesn't have, say, a 12-pin lens connector. So we don't have the iris control or power through the camera normally.
Yep. So it'd just be the same as if you're using on a traditional film camera. It's just a dumb mount, and then you would manually operate the lens.
Yep. I know that there have been adapter cables made to take external power and power the lens, but certainly at this stage we don't have adapters available that enable us to have it like I suppose a Venice or the F5 or F55.
Yeah. So you, as you said, you'd be getting power from an external source as opposed to through the lens.
Yep. Let's see what we've got next. Does the Wi-Fi allow for direct connect? So this would be to an iPad or something.
Sure.
Like that.
Okay. So yeah, from the phone itself, so you can connect to the camera. The camera itself will act like an access point, so you can directly connect to it. There is also a mode where if you have a network in the area that you're working on and you want multiple people connecting to it, you can connect the camera as a client to another access point and then connect as you normally would across the network to it. So yeah, you're available to do that.
Both ways.
Both ways. It's just a setting in the network. You set it up as either the camera being an access point or the camera being a regular client.
Okay. So if you have a look at the camera here, you'll see that the actual Wi-Fi transmitter is actually just around here.
Yep.
I mean, a little interesting point. I know Sony did a lot of testing with the paint that they use on this camera to make sure that the Wi-Fi performance wasn't affected. Anyway, there you go, it's a little fun fact. Let's go through, see what else we've got coming up next.
Sure. Just before we move on from the Wi-Fi, just to mention the app to use the camera is available for both iOS and Android, so no matter what you're using, you can work on that. You can also connect to the camera with just a regular browser, so it can be from any device, and that will allow you basic remote control and things of the camera.
Yeah, and another thing is this also has a GPS receiver in it as well.
Correct.
So you can record GPS information in the camera as well. Next question, what are we up to? Will there be a smart PL adapter like the Venice? I think we've probably touched on this.
Sort of touched on it, yeah. So Sony themselves won't be bringing anything like that. That's not currently on our roadmap at all. Some third parties might do it, but yeah, not anything from Sony side, I can say at this time.
Yep. So I think you can say that you're looking at Venice or even Sony's F5, F55. They're the cameras at the moment that have full interfacing with PL mount lenses through either the Cook or ARRI protocols. So that's, I suppose, the same as the FS7, if you like, in, I suppose, a demarcation. But, of course, with the E-mount, if you're putting E-mount lenses, you have...
Exactly, yeah. All the metadata and things comes through the E-mount interface, just like it does on an alpha camera or any of that information. And that information is also used by the camera, stores it as metadata, which you can put back up in post. It's also used for the post stabilization option, which is available through the camera as well.
Yep. Okay. Let's have a look. Our next question we're at. Now, this is a question I've put up.
Okay.
Which is to do with accessories for the PXW-FX9. Sure. One of the things that we were wondering about before is what fits and what doesn't.
Sure. So, I mean, you can see right at the moment, there's a third-party set of rails and things, shoulder mount on the bottom there. The base plate is almost identical to an FS7, so those accessories should have no issues putting those across. The top handle is very similar, but not exactly the same. So some cheese plates and things might have some points of contact somewhere, but in general, most things will work, but just depends how you've got things around there.
Yep.
Obviously, all your other accessories like batteries and basic accessories work fine. Remote control, it has the same LAN connection as the other one. So you can use your previous remotes with that if you want to do remote control. The standard hand grip has actually changed on this. So there's now a new multi-pin connector, which gives faster transfer and connectivity directly to the hand grip. So better performance, more reactivity there. Next to it is the remote port. So you can actually use this controller and a link controller at the same time.
All right.
So quite flexible if you're trying to set up different remote situations.
Yeah, and that's a new feature with this camera, as we didn't have that before.
No.
I think one thing we can say with this, talking about accessories, is that the plate that we've got in here is a Crozier plate, but it's actually one that we've taken straight off an existing PXW-FX the FS7. Because we wanted to go and see how compatible they were, and if you go and have a look at the bottom of the camera, the shape of the bottom of the camera is practically identical to what we had with the FS7.
Yeah, your base plates and things should fit without any issues at all.
Yep. Because we've just got this camera literally minutes before this stream started, we haven't gone and played with all the top cheese plate options to see whether our existing cheese plates fit with this. But as Anthony said,
I think the majority of them will. It may just depend on how closely they follow the exact profile of the other handle.
Yep.
There is some slight changes, but the vast majority of them should fit. So, yeah.
Okay, which is great. One of the things that we've also been looking through here is talking about the 4-channel audio. I think going through other things. Now, one of the key changes here with the FX9 versus the FS7 is that we actually have a full 4-channel audio system.
Yeah, so, well, you had 4 channels on the FS7, but you only had physical controls on the body for 2. Now you've got physical controls for 4 on the side of the camera there. So that makes it a lot easier if you are using the multiple controls. Flip it down, you've got all your normal settings for switching between either auto or manual, whether they're mic level or line level. Phantom power, all of your basic settings there. Just nice and easy to work with directly on the side of the camera.
So one of the things that has come up as a question is to do with getting audio into the camera. So we've got the 2 XLRs here on the side of the camera, which is basically the same as the FS7.
Yep.
To get the additional 2 channels in, we've got 2 ways. So we have the hot shoe here where we can add the adapters even off the alphas, the XLR shoe.
So yeah, there's a alpha adapter that allows you to take 2 channels into XLR. So if you want 4 XLR connections, you can do that. The MI shoe also allows you to connect the UWP radio mics directly to that. So you can have 2 channels of audio coming in. This is the new digital MI shoe. So it's backward compatible with the analog system if you've got an existing UWP system. But the new UWP systems that are going to be shipping start of next year allow you to take digital signal in through the interface as well.
So it'd be a complete digital path, if you like.
So yeah, directly into the shoe, it's a digital signal. Like I said, it does have backward compatibility with analog if you're wanting to do that as well. So yeah, you can take 2 channels through here, 2 channels through the XLR. Right. If you have the extension system, you also have the ability to have a 2-channel radio mic slot in, so you can take your 2 channels from there as well.
Yeah, and that's compatible with what Sony's been running on their broadcast
cameras. Yeah, it's the same as what you'd find on an XDCAM shoulder mount camcorder.
So we'd assume from that that third-party manufacturers that have also made radio mics with that drop-in should work. We'll find out.
If it works on other Sony slotting cameras, then I can't see a reason why it wouldn't work on this. Yeah, obviously we've only tested our stuff, but yeah, it's a standard Sony slot.
All right. We've got another question that's come in here with from Peter Corbett. Has the operational capabilities of the 28 to 135 lens improved with the FX9?
Right. So the lens itself is the same lens. The advantage of the lens now, though, is because you've got a full-frame sensor, the 28 is a lot more usable for most people's applications. Of course, you're not going to get as long unless you go into the Super 35 mode. But for those wide shots where you needed it, which on a Super 35 crop sensor really was a little limiting on a 28. Now, because of that full frame, gives you a lot more wide shots available. So yeah.
The 28 in the full frame mode would be actually quite a bit closer to what the lens that came with the FS7 Mark II.
Yep, okay. The other thing, of course, is the autofocus capabilities on there work with the lens, which you didn't have on your previous models anywhere near the capability. So the ability to be doing the tracking of objects, people, all those sort of things, integrates directly in with the lens. So,
yes. Yeah. So with the autofocus, when we go and looking at with this camera, we have all the face detection and everything. So
Yep.
we're talking about an autofocus system that's pretty similar to what we would have with the Alpha series, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So technology from the Alpha series has definitely been migrated into this. Things like face detection is available. You can in fact identify a specific face. So if you're shooting a crowd of people and there's a particular person you want to be tracking, you can select that. It's also good for a single operator where you may be setting up the camera yourself. You can register yourself as the face, and then that way, if you're standing, you walk out of frame to make some settings, come back in, it's going to automatically recognize you and focus back on you instead of the person walking behind you or anything else. So quite a handy feature.
And really, it's been quite interesting. So the original 28-135, which seems to have gained a new lease on life on this camera, was something that initially we thought, oh yeah, it does the job, but it's a little bit tight.
Yeah.
And then it sort of, I suppose, once we realised that it was actually a full-frame lens,
Yep.
then with the FX9, it's become a lot more useful.
Coming to its own, and really for the additional cost of what you get in the range, I think it's quite a good value lens.
Yeah, but getting back with what was being asked, the lens itself is identical to
the lens itself is
up.
identical. Yep.
Yep.
So physically, there's no actual changes to the lens.
Yep. All right. One of the things that we can probably do now is if we just go through, we can probably bring up the viewfinder output of the camera so you can get a bit of an idea of how it looks, so people can see this is where we're sitting at right now. You've got all of the information, and you'll see there that it's picking up a face right now, and it's going through, and this is one of the key features that we talk about with the camera. It's picking up the various people very quickly, which I think is a really interesting, I mean, it's a fantastic feature. Having this alpha type level of performance in a true
video camera,
or digital cinema camera really, is a feature that is what I suppose we've been looking for.
Yeah, I think it's a great feature. You're going to find it really handy for lots of applications. I think everybody's seen interview segments where they've got someone at really, really shallow depth of field. You know, they're shooting the whole thing at f1.4.
Yep.
And it starts off great, and then the person leans forward in the middle of the interview and it's totally out of focus. So those sort of situations where you're not constantly having to track the person, let the camera do it for you, still allows you to keep that very shallow depth of field, always is going to be in focus, tracks the person very quickly. Those sort of setups, it makes perfect sense for.
Yeah. We've, I suppose, talked about the lenses. Now, we've been talking through here with the E-mount. Now, all of these autofocus, these fantastic capabilities are really with the E-mount lenses, aren't they?
Correct, yeah. If you've got an adapted lens, you know, like the PLs, then they're not going to have the autofocus capabilities. You can, of course, use them in manual, just as you would in any other normal camera. But yeah, for E-mount lenses, whole range of autofocus capabilities, and that works with all of the Sony E-mount lenses.
Yep. Okay, so there are third-party adapters, like we have the Metabones adapters that will adapt from EF to E, and from that point of view, you would have a very, I suppose, a limited level of capability in autofocus. I mean, it will work, but it'll be probably similar to what you get with the FS7. Yeah,
yeah. For the best performance, really, you need to be looking at the native E-mount lenses there.
Yeah. Okay, now when we talk about different bundles and things like that, we have a few different ways to purchase this camera. We can buy it as the camera head only, and we can buy it as a kit with the 28-135 lens.
Correct, yep.
We've got questions about different price points and things like that. Depending on where it's at, it's, I suppose, up to us to decide whether you want to buy the camera as body only and buy the lenses separately, or buy it as the
kit. Yep.
All right. The warranty with the
so
the FX9.
it's a 2-year warranty that comes with the cameras. That's standard on pretty much all of the Sony Pro products.
Yep.
They come with a 12-month warranty, and then we extend that in Australia and New Zealand to 24 months.
Yep.
So that's available through all of our authorised dealers.
Yep, there you go. There's benefit of buying local. Now I'm just trying to think of any other things that we want to go and tap through now. Oh, the other question with the adapters, the new XDCA.
Yep.
Might as well ask the question now. Is the adapter for the FS7 compatible with the FX9?
No, it is not. No.
Right.
So the interface on the FS7 is actually different. So as you mentioned before, with the 9, it gives you that radio slot-in mics and things that wasn't available at all. So the interface has audio channels and things being pushed through it, as opposed to the 7 that doesn't.
Yep.
So yeah, you cannot use a 7 adapter on a 9, and you also can't use the 9 adapter on a 7, unfortunately.
Okay, so they're each to their own little world, if you like.
Indeed, yeah.
Now we still have, I mean, one of the great things with this camera is it's actually the first full-frame camera with a variable ND filter.
Yep.
So anyone who's used the FS5 or FS7 Mark II would know that this feature is a fantastic one. Now, when we talk about some of these things, I suppose the other question is to do with operation. Certainly, from what I can hear, what I can see, it looks very similar to the FS7 from the button layout.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think if you're coming from a 7, it's going to be quite intuitive and easy to move across. There is a few changes, as we've already mentioned. Audio, you've got 4 channels there. There's a couple more assignable buttons. In addition to that, the way the button layouts have changed makes it a bit easier to check exactly what's functioned. So if you've got it switched, say for auto iris, if you press that on, auto iris, the button itself will have a light on it to indicate that it's turned on. So you can quickly see at a glance, if you look across to the camera, exactly what's been turned on.
Yep.
ND control is directly through the 2 buttons at the top here, and a wheel on the side for the variable setting. This wheel controls at the bottom is for menu control and selection.
Okay, yep.
You can of course use the D-pad style setting there as well. Yeah, the buttons themselves, as I said, are fairly similar. One difference is the buttons on the 9 are all weather sealed.
Yep.
This doesn't make it IP rated. This don't submerge the camera, but yeah, it is.
Makes it a little bit more...
definitely a bit more robust and things for people out there in the field shooting stuff.
Now, one of the questions was, is the XDCA FX9 adapter available when the camera's coming out? Right,
yeah. So XDCA, which is the extension adapter, is available at the same time as the camera. But at the initial shipping software, the slot-in radio mic doesn't function at this point. The functionality for that gets added in the next firmware update, which will be out in a few months. So that, yeah, unfortunately, initially doesn't work. The digital MI shoe and the regular XLRs, of course, function straight out of the box. It's the slot-in radio mic that will be added in that future update.
Yep. Now we talk about different V-mount adapters because we're having some questions about a more basic V-mount adapter. Mm-hmm. Is that on the roadmap of Sony, or are we relying on third-party suppliers for that?
At this point in time, the only adapter we have on our roadmap is the one we've announced. I would imagine there'll be numerous third-party adapters and things coming out fairly quickly.
I can say from our own dealings with various suppliers that we do have V-mount adapters coming out that don't have the raw capabilities. They're very simply a V-mount battery adapter. They'll give you some additional D-tap outputs. The other thing that's quite important is that this camera isn't a 12-volt DC in. It expects a 19 volts, so it's not as simple as a dumb adapter. There has to actually be a bit of a step-up circuit. So that will, I know that Hawkwoods have a unit available, and I'm sure there'll be others coming through. Yep. Another question that has just come up, and I think we know this answer, is to do with will the Sony UWP slot-in radio mic work in with the XDCA?
Definitely. Yep, no problem. Works exactly as it would on a standard shoulder mount camcorder. So same radio mics, slot straight into those, and we'll slot straight into this.
Yep. Okay. I think the XDCA adapter adds some unique features. It may not be for everyone, but certainly I think for professional crews, especially if they're trying to use it in a more E&G type situation, being able to put in the various different brands. I think that from what we've been doing with our broadcast type camcorders, we've been using the Sonys. There's also been Sennheisers or Electros. There's a few different brands that we've been using in there over time, and I think if we manage to keep that capability, it'll keep a lot of soundos happy.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to kit it up into more of an E&G style, but you're looking for that larger format look, then that sort of configuration makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And the other thing with that XDCA adapter, it does have a DTAP power out as well, so you can power external items too.
Yeah.
So yes, the Sony adapter probably is trying to cover everything, and the raw record is really probably one of the major parts of it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are going to the raw output from that, it's a 16-bit linear raw. That will allow you to take it out to an external recorder, record that. Quite a bit of flexibility in post, of course, taking that much larger file size. Really depends on the type of workflow you want in post and how you're going to manage that.
Oh, exactly. Another little thing we'll touch on while we're coming to the end of the stream was that the way we have the camera set up here is we've actually got we're using the two 12G SDI outputs. They're not set in 12G at the moment.
The top one's 12G, the bottom one's actually just 3G. So you've got HDI monitoring and also a 12G that you can do HD as well as 4K on.
So there you go.
There you go.
Learn something every day. But that's not a problem. In fact, if we go through, we can probably just bring up a little split screen where we can show the two outputs of the camera. So if we bring up the pictures, we can see here on one side, we'll just bring the menu up. You can see we've got the live SDI out, and then we also have the
clean and dirty there.
The clean. So the good thing about this is that you can actually set these outputs to display your viewfinder information or not, and then you can go through and turn on what you do and don't want to see.
Exactly. There's lots of options of what you can turn on and off in the menu. But
and on extension of that, the camera is also gen lockable, so it would be a camera we can use in a multi-camera shoot, and getting the 12G SDI actually makes it really easy to plug it into a whole range of 4K mixes and things as well.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're using it in a 4K, 50 or 60p environment, then the 12G SDI makes perfect sense for that. Mix it in with more of your traditional broadcast style cameras.
Now, I was going to say, with the existing E-mount adapters, does Sony have any other plans for, I think, does the Sony do an A-mount to E-mount?
Yes, we do.
Is that a full frame capable
That
one?
is full frame, yeah. There's actually been a few versions over the years, but the current ones of those do work with that.
Yep.
So yeah, as long as you buy the version that's full frame, which I believe all the current ones are, then yeah, you can use your A-mount lenses with that as well.
Yep. And the B4 mount, getting back to this, that B4 mount for the FS7 hasn't been tested on this camera.
Okay. I mean, it'll physically fit because the mount's going to be the same. But yeah, there isn't an option to do that center cut as we were discussing earlier. So on the screen, you're going to see some very, very severe vignetting. As I said, you could deal with that in post, but general operability, it's probably not going to be the nicest for most applications.
Actually, on that, can we cheat? Is there a digital extender on this thing?
There is not a digital extender directly on the camera, So the closest thing you've got to that is either changing between full frame mode and Super 35. You can do focus magnification to punch in, which is actually considerably improved from the 7, but that doesn't affect the recorded image.
Okay. Now, the questions come up about shipping on these things. How are we looking for shipping in Australia for these cameras?
We should be shipping out the first batch of cameras to dealers next week.
So there you go. So it's looking like very, very soon. So if I could say that if you have orders in with cameras with us, I'd say there's a fair chance you could see them before Christmas. Is it possible to use Atomos to record RAW from the regular SDI without the extension? I think I know the answer to that.
Right, so the regular SDI outputs regular SDI. So yeah, if you want to take a S-log signal out of that and record it, you can, but that of course isn't a RAW image. If you want the true RAW, you do need the extension adapter on there.
I think the idea of being able to get S-log, say S-log 3, S-gamut 3, straight out, actually does give you a lot of extra, I suppose, space to play with from a grading perspective. And if you want to record down that way, you can record 4K or UHD, depending on what you want to do. And with that extra information stored, you will get a little bit more room to move, and probably with a lot less mucking around than RAW in some cases.
Yeah, quite easy in post. The other thing I'll just mention, you sort of touched on it there, is initially when the camera ships, it is UHD, so 3840. 4096, so true cinema 4K, will be added in the next firmware update. So both 2K and 4K get added in the next update. The camera ships as standard with full HD and UHD.
But within the S35 image circle, of course, this thing is actually a 4096.
Correct.
It's not a 3840.
So same resolution in Super 35 as what you get on an FS7 or something else. So if you are using lenses that are only Super 35 capable, you will still get that 4K resolution directly on that.
Great. Well, Anthony, I think from here we can wrap things up. I think we've had a good little chat about where we're sitting with this new toy, and we've all really been looking forward to getting this thing, and we're certainly really excited about actually getting our own cameras to go and play with. So everyone, thanks for watching today. It's certainly an exciting time for us, and yeah, get ready for looking for some FX9 cameras before Christmas. If you're interested in following us with our videos and other things in the future, go and follow us through all the socials, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.